Remember, folks, I'm just a Muppet in a chair. Don't take me seriously. Hello, Boomerites. How we doing? Welcome back to the channel. I'm King Boomer. Most of you already know that. But for the newbies, welcome. I'm doing this reaction this was in my recommendations, and I thought it looked interesting. It is Stephen Fry on American versus British comedy. And I think, judging from the thumbnail, I think I saw a short, very short clip of this in one of Jimmy the Giant's videos that I reacted to. But, so this should be pretty interesting. I think I kind of get the big difference between American and British comedy in the sense that, the American ones are always filled with, dreamers and optimism and things like that. But let's have Stephen Fry explain it to me. By the way, before we get into the reaction, I've heard of Stephen Fry. I don't really know what he's about. I may have seen him before at one point, but I don't really know anything about him. So, in that light, if he's a guy that some of you really hate, I apologize, but I don't know the guy because sometimes I'll react to someone who I've never encountered before or who I've heard of and never reacted to before, and then I'll get a few comments thrown in below where that they're offended that I even reacted to a certain person. I'll be like, hey, well, how did this reaction go? I'll look below, and one of the comments is, I can't believe you would react to that fuck! I'm not intentionally trying to troll people. I don't know anything about Stephen Fry, so if he's somebody that you guys don't like, just skip this video, I guess. But sometimes I encounter that kind of stuff in the comments. But Stephen Fry, he's going to talk about American versus British comedy in this clip, and I wanted to see his explanation. So, and somebody in the comments let me know who Stephen Fry is, because I've heard the name. Judging from his face, I think I've seen him before at least once in my life. But somebody throw an explanation as to who he is, what he's about, and if it's a good description, like it, so it shoots straight to the top and I can read it right away. So anyway, here we go. Stephen Fry on American versus British comedy. Let's check it out.
We have time for one more question, which will come from the gentleman there.
You talk about the sense of humour, the American sense of humour, and you haven't mentioned so much the British sense of humour, but do you think they differ hugely? And if so, what accounts for that difference?
It's a really good point. I think, it strikes at the heart of what is American optimism is a really important thing, but not only optimism, but a refusal to see oneself in a bad light, or, one could talk about this for far too long, but if you go to an American bookshop, by far the biggest section is self-help and improvement. The idea that life is refinable and improvable, and that you can learn a technique for anything, whether it's lovemaking, being a businessman, a marriage, cooking, losing weight, whatever it is. There's an NLP way of doing it, there's an Anthony Robbins way of doing it, there's a things they didn't teach you at Harvard way of doing it. There's an unbelievable sense that life is improvable, that you can be lectured at, or indeed given a sermon at. It's the Protestant base of America, that things are done by text and by works, as opposed to by submission and by, a doctrine in the way that the higher church, European, rump, we still believe. And
okay, I'm stopping it here. That hit home for me. Two reasons. One, he mentioned if you walk into a bookstore here in the States, he's right, and it fucking pisses me off, that the biggest section is self-help and that nonsense, which I'm not big on. If you not to quote George Carlin or anything, but if you need help, why would you read a book written by somebody else? That's not self-help. That's help. You know, if you did it yourself, you didn't need help. But so yes, he's right about that. And as far as like, there's always this, you know, a written down solution to everything. He mentioned losing weight, which I think I'm not a very good American because of him saying that. Because I am currently trying to lose weight. I think I'm losing weight. You guys be the judge, though. It has gotten a little smaller, but I'm only 2 weeks into the working out stuff now. But when I started working out 2 weeks ago, I did not, you know, print out, you know, a workout routine that somebody else had made. I didn't, you know, strictly adhere to a diet that somebody had printed out for me in written form. And none of that. I just got my ass out the door and into the gym. And I've been doing that for 2 weeks. And I feel, I may not look much better, but I certainly feel tons better. I feel so much better because of it. But back to what he was saying, like, it never even crossed my mind to go, okay, I need a workout to do. Let me print one out that somebody else has set up. That never even crossed my mind. And it never crossed my mind to print out like a diet that somebody wants you to go on to lose weight. I just said, it just, myself, I was like, Brian, get in the gym and don't eat so much junk. That's all I did. You know, I'm not focusing on certain aspects of working out. I'm just really just running, doing ab workouts and, like, you know, occasional weights, but mostly it's just cardio and core stuff. Stuff that I remember from when I used to work out every day, you know, like 10 years ago. So what he said there really hits it home. It was very, very interesting, and it pisses me off that we have so many self-help books and stuff. Like, you know, it's the power. The mind is so powerful. If you really want yourself to get better, you can do it all in here. You don't need anybody else's thoughts to do it. At least that's my opinion, anyway. You don't need anybody else telling you how to do it. Let's continue.
And there is a sense of original sin in Europe. I mean, this is a bizarre theory that I won't push to its limit, but when it comes to comedy, it's satisfactorily, I think, obvious that the American comic hero is a wisecracker who is above his material and who is above the idiots around him. And the British comic, put it this way, the American comic hero, like John Belushi or someone like that, you know that scene in Animal House where there's a fellow playing folk music on a guitar, and John Belushi picks up the guitar and destroys it. And the cinema lot, because he just smashes it and then waggles his eyebrows at the camera. And everyone says, God, he's so great. Well, a British comedian would want to play the folk singer. We want to play the failure. All the great British comic heroes are people who want life to be better and on whom life craps from a terrible height, and whose sense of dignity is constantly compromised by the world letting them down. They want to wear a tie. They're not quite smart enough to wear an old school tie because they're kind of lower middle class. They are Arthur Lowe in Dad's Army. They are Anthony Aloysius Hancock. They are Basil Fawlty. They are Del Boy. They are Blackadder. They're not quite the upper echelons, and they try to be decent and right. Everything tries to be proper. They're even David Brent from The Office. And their lack of dignity is embarrassing. They are a failure. They are an utter failure. They're brought up to expect empire and respect and decency and being able to wear a blazer in public, and everyone around them just goes Whereas the American hero is the smart talking, he's Jim Carrey and he's Ben Stiller and he's, you know, whoever, he just goes all the way back. They can wisecrack their way out of any situation. They win the girl, they're smarter, they've got the biggest knob in the room. The British guy arrives in the room and says, oh my God, I've left my knob behind. I haven't even got one. And In a sense, comedy is the microcosm that allows us to examine the entire difference between our two cultures. Ours is bathed in failure, but we make a glory of our failure. We celebrate it. We love the fact that every great British comic hero can go into a dictionary. He's a bit of a Basil Fawlty. He's a bit of a Captain Mannering. He's a bit of a Steptoe. He's a bit of a Baldrick.
You know what you know what, and this may not have to do with American comedy, but what he's saying, like, I was immediately thinking of the kind of gotcha culture or the beef culture. And what I mean by that is like confrontation between, TV personalities or radio personalities, and how nobody ever. I just want one time for someone who is verbally attacking another personality on video, to where, God, how do I say this? So you got one fuck who's on TV. He's attacking another fuck who's on TV. And the one fuck says all this shit about the other fuck. And then the other fuck looks up, reacts to it, and goes, they got a point. Maybe I should look to improve myself. That never happens. It's always like, oh yeah, well the second fuck always says, well yeah, well I'm gonna say some more shit about the first fuck. God, I'm saying fuck a lot. But you know what I mean? Like, it's everything you watch. I just watched, the beef between Pat McAfee. These names might go over your heads, but I'm going to do it anyway. The beef between Pat McAfee and ESPN right now, where he's throwing digs at this executive there, and then the executive is like, well, he can't say this shit on the show, and nobody's going, I'm sorry, maybe I can make the show better. Or like Jason Whitlock just went after Stephen A. Smith, and then Stephen A. Smith right back said, pretty much to hell with you, you fat bastard. And nobody's ever going like, maybe I could do better, with the criticism that is thrown that way. I feel like we need more of that. And what he was just talking about made me really think about that. But anyway, he's right. I feel like you guys really celebrate failure, and American comedy really doesn't do that enough. Not even close to enough. And I think that's why I like British comedy more at this point, at least from the British comedy I've seen. Because I've said this before on videos, I hardly watch any American comedies because most of them I actually can't stand most of them. Movies, on the other hand, I think American comedy movies are really good. Maybe not these last few years, but for like 30, 40 years they were fantastic. So we may have, we may be on equal footing when it comes to the comedy movies, but when it comes to television, no, I think the British comedy is far superior in that regard.
Comedy is the microcosm that allows us to examine the entire difference between our two cultures. Ours is bathed in failure, but we make a glory of our failure. We celebrate it. We love the fact that every great British comic hero can go into a dictionary. He's a bit of a Basil Fawlty. He's a bit of a Captain Mannering. He's a bit of a Steptoe. He's a bit of a Baldrick. He's a bit of a Blackadder. He's a bit of a this. They're characters that we recognise, all of them so flawed as to be an utter disaster. But you can't do that with American comedy. You can't say he's a bit of, who's that chap in Friends, or he's a bit of a, it doesn't really work. They're not characters at all. They're just brilliant repositories of fantastic killer one-liners.
I tend to agree with that. So that was an interesting video to watch from stephenfry. Please let me know who he is and what he does. I'm assuming he writes comedy. And I think I've seen him before. He looks familiar. Maybe he's worked on something that I've reacted to. I'm not quite so sure. But But Jesus, there's another Stephen Fry video on the difference between British and American comedy, but he looks like 20 years older in this one. But yeah, I tend to agree with almost everything he said, and it makes me mad. You know, it really makes me mad. If I walk into a bookstore right now, I bet you the first section I run into is the self-help section, and people are in there. Where's the solution? Where's the solution? Like, you know, I think people should figure out things on their own and not be afraid to fail. Failure is the best teacher in the world. It really is. But the bad part about that is the people who don't react well to failure tend to be the ones that continue failing. And again, I'm just a muppet in a chair. We're just talking. You know, I don't view myself as any type of insightful persona, if you will. You know, I just like talking to you guys. That's why I got this channel, man. It's been a hell of a ride, and I appreciate every sub on the channel. But yeah, British comedy on television, at least, I think is way better from what I've seen, and that's why this channel is so fun, because with the British comedy, it's like for me, it's like, and I've said that, I probably said this before, but it's like I'm a miner, as in, you know, with the pickaxe looking for gold, and I'm going around to all these places, and I might get a little bit of gold here, a little bit of gold there, but it's kind of a struggle. And then I come across this land far away, and I start putting my pickaxe in the ground, and it's just everywhere you put it in the ground, gold starts coming out. That's how I feel about British comedy. It was there the whole time for me to discover, and I'm just now discovering it, and it's fucking great. It really is. So pat yourselves on the back, Brits. You guys have the best television comedy that I've ever seen, in my opinion. But again, in the movies, though, I think movies were kind of neck and neck. You can make the debate on which one's better, American or British film comedy films. I'm not going to pick one, but I feel like they're very close. You know what I mean? Anyway, thank you for spending time with me today on my channel. Remember to like, subscribe, do whatever you guys want, and throw some comments below, because I'd be interested to read them, especially on this one. All right, Boomerites? Y'all have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.